Okay. So yeah, thank you so much again for joining us. And this is the Office of Experiential Learning and Immersion Vanderbilt's Maymester and Funding Info Session. So we are going to be talking today about our Maymester 2024 programs. My name is Alyssa McKinnon West, and I am the Assistant Director for Programming, Funding, and Assessment. So I will be talking about the funding piece of what we do in our office. And today I am joined by my colleague, Jillian Madden. So Jillian, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you introduce yourself and we'll get started.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to get to talk to you all today. My name is Jillian Madden, and I'm a study abroad advisor here in the office. Today, we're going to kick off this presentation talking a little bit about Maymester. We'll lead then into funding, and then afterwards, we can take any questions that anyone may have. So just kind of jumping into the start of this presentation, we're going to be focusing on Maymester abroad courses. Those are going to be considered summer study abroad options. So when you're looking for them, either like on our website or on the ANS website, just know that Maymester is considered to be a summer study abroad course. Because of that, financial aid does not apply, but needs-based fellowships are available. So we'll get into that. Let's see. Can we go to the next slide? Let's see here.
Jillian, is it not advancing on your screen?
No, we're on the front page.
Let me make sure. Okay, let me
see.
Let me reshare. Little technical difficulty. Thank you all for your patience. I think it's this one. Okay, let's go back to this.
There we go. Beautiful.
There we are. Okay, I think this
Perfect.
is the page.
Thanks. Alrighty. So what exactly are Maymesters? They are faculty-led programs. They include both ANS, and this year we're hosting Views is going to be running a program as well that have an abroad component. Course offerings vary year by year, and they're generally announced in November. So applications are open for this cycle, and then applications are due at the end of January. So from program by program, some programs may be eligible for Axel credit. So you'll need to take a look on the course info sheet that's available for each program just to confirm. There's going to be 3 credits that you can earn. They're around 3 to 4 weeks from May to early June. Dates may vary, so you'll just need to check program by program. Study and travel with VU students and faculty. So the majority of the applicants and participants on these programs are Vanderbilt students, and they are led by Vanderbilt faculty members. And then the total cost for these programs can vary anywhere between like 10 to 20,000. All right, so taking a look at our 2024 Maymester programs, this cycle we have 19 programs total. 18 of those are going to be ANS Maymesters, and we have 1 Views Maymester. You can take a look at the list of courses that are being offered for this upcoming Maymester cycle. This is also available on our Maymester website, on the Study Abroad website. That is different from the ANS Maymester Summer Session site. But most of these courses do not have prerequisites. The cost can range anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000, not including like out-of-pocket expenses. Vanderbilt Financial Aid does not cover summer or Maymester courses, so we can talk about funding in a little bit. Visas may be required. You'll need to work with the program director to figure out if your program does need a visa and what kind of visa it will need. And then course cancellations are possible after the application deadline ends. We will know whether or not, programs will be moving forward. All right, so eligibility, who can go on these programs? So rising sophomores, juniors, and seniors are eligible to apply. You must have a valid passport expiring no sooner than December 2024. So a lot of locations when you travel, you will need to have at least 6 months after the end of your program that your passport is valid. So that will require that you'll need to make sure that your passport is good through December 2024. You must be in good academic and disciplinary standing, no minimum GPA requirement. Acceptance into a particular Maymester course is solely at the discretion of the course instructor. So it won't be, like a guaranteed if you apply to it. Some instructors might ask to interview you once you have applied for the program. So just know that that is a possibility. So how do we go ahead and start applying? So Maymesters are actually on rolling admission. So some, programs will go ahead and start accepting students after they have applied before the January 31st deadline. We definitely recommend that students go ahead and start applying sooner rather than later. There's going to be only one Maymester application allowed for students per cycle. If you do need to end up changing your application, you can definitely reach out to me and let me know, and we can go ahead and get that switched over. Application requires a personal statement, and academic references might be asked for. Some of them might just have, it's not necessarily that they need to write you a letter, it's just that you'll need to list someone that, can vouch for you just here at Vanderbilt, should that be needed. Another big thing is to proactively reach out to Maymester instructors about your enrollment in the class once your application is complete. That is really good, especially if you have not worked directly with that faculty member in the past. It's good to just introduce yourself and let them know that you have applied to the program. All right, so what does the summer sessions page look like? So if you go to the A&S summer sessions page, you'll want to make sure that you are looking at the programs. When you get under the course dropdown, it will show a list of all the courses. So there's 18, and this is just kind of an example of what this will look like. So you'll see the program title up at the top, under the I guess, yeah, it's like the title. So there's like the Maymester in Korea, and underneath that Asia 1480, Discover Korea is the actual title of the course. You'll have a description of the course itself. And then some professors have like websites that they have built out for these programs. Others might have flyers or any kind of like downloadables, and you can always reach out to the professors with their emails here. There will be a total approximate cost, and then if you want to see a breakdown of exactly, the dates, maybe some of the excursions, the itineraries, information on what's included in the program, you can always take a look where the hyperlinked up at the top where the Asia 1480 is. You can always click there for more information. And then if you're ready to apply, you can go ahead and click that apply button down below. And this is when you click the hyperlink for the course code, this is what should pop up. So you'll see information on like credit hours, course numbers, whether or not it requires prerequisites, Axel, what it counts for, if any, and just an overview of the course itself. Commitment and withdrawal. So once you're accepted, you'll be asked to commit or decline. Commitment will save your seat in the class. You have up until February 15th to withdraw from the program. You must commit to participating on a Maymester program by February 15th, or you will need to withdraw your participation. Withdrawal made after February 15th will result in a $500 penalty fee at the minimum assessed by A&S. Vanderbilt does reserve the right to bill students for any unrecoverable costs as well, even if these costs amount to more than the $500 base withdrawal fee.
All right, so speaking of cost, we can talk a little bit more about funding for Maymester. So as Jillian mentioned, funding for Maymester is not covered by financial aid. So for many of our students, that means that there are going to be some out-of-pocket costs associated with attending these programs. So just in general, as we're talking about funding for immersive experiences, because attending a Maymester program would qualify as an immersive experience um, as required by the Immersion Vanderbilt degree requirement, there are other immersive experiences. So we have the Maymester, which is encapsulated by study abroad. We have research, community civic engagement. All of these experiences, while not necessarily requiring funding, sometimes students do encounter opportunities where they might need assistance with funding their experience. So our office has developed a web page specifically dedicated to tracking and maintaining all of our various funding sources for those respective experiences. So as you're thinking about the types of experiences that you want to engage in during your time at Vanderbilt, we do encourage you to take a look at this website. The great thing about this website is that today we may talk about some specific funds, but our funding is ever developing. And so if new funding does ever become available, or there are updates made to certain funds, we will add those to this website. And so it is ever changing. And I definitely recommend, like, before you begin an experience or during your experience, log onto this page, take a look at some different possibilities to help fund your immersive experience. So when we think specifically about Maymester, one of the probably more common programs that students tend to know about is going to be our Global Summer Fellowship Program, or GSF for short. So GSF offers need-based funds for students to participate in study abroad and Maymester programs. So with this fund, it is restricted to a few different areas, and we'll talk a little bit more about eligibility for this fund. But at minimum, we do ask that students have a demonstrated financial need. So you'll need to make sure that you have a CSS profile in place. It is quite competitive. Our Maymesters are very, very popular options. So we do tend to see quite a lot of applicants apply for assistance with these programs. So applying is not guaranteed that you are going to be awarded. And furthermore, if you are awarded, it's not guaranteed that you are going to get the total cost of your programs covered. And we'll talk a little bit more of that in some of the other slides I have coming up. But just keep in mind, these are competitive awards. And there is an application period, which the reason we're doing this video today is because our GSF applications are currently open. So those are going to close on January 11th. So as you're going into the winter break season, you'll probably be having some conversations with your parents, guardians, people in your lives about your upcoming summer plans. And with that, it is going to be great for you to talk with your family about funding. So as we mentioned, you're going to need a CSS profile or be an international student who is already receiving need-based aid, because this is a need-based fund. We do have, went a little bit too far. We do have a GPA requirement. We're looking at students that have a 2.7 GPA. And then, of course, you must have an application for a summer or Maymester program through Studio Abroad. So you are going to apply for GSF using the program that you are applying for Maymester. Sometimes students do have questions, what if I don't get into my program? What if my program gets canceled? Please know that part of what we do in our office is we work with students throughout the process. So if for whatever reason you are selected and your program doesn't make, there are still opportunities for us to work with you to maybe move to a different program that might have availability, and we can, of course, readjust your funding based on that. So we handle a lot of that on the back end of the system. So awarding details, again, reiterating, it is need-based. A big question we've been getting lately is, what if you do have access to other funds through the university? And I'll talk a little bit more about these in a second, but there are some funds that students might come into the university with. So maybe you have a merit stipend. We do take that into consideration for your award, because if you're already using a $6,000 merit stipend towards your Maymester program, that adds into your overall expenses. And so we wouldn't necessarily give a student with $6,000, maybe the full 15. But maybe if you needed you had $6,000 and maybe you needed like an extra 4,000 to get to where you needed to be, we take those into consideration and we do a lot of weighing what kinds of access our students have to funding, because our goal is to get as many students as possible into these Maymester programs. And so we try to meet everybody where they are in terms of the funding that they need. And if you are applying through the provider, so this is specific towards the summer study abroad, but some of our summer programs might have, so this is external to Maymester, might have scholarships available. If you are getting a scholarship from DIS Copenhagen and we would take that into consideration with some of the funding that you might be requesting. And the scholarship funding is going to be dispersed through your VU student account. So you will ensure that you have all the necessary, once you're awarded, we'll send you all the necessary information you need to make sure that your accounts are set up properly, and then we'll disperse it through your student account. So there are two parts to the application. So there is the Studio Abroad application. So when you're applying to your Maymester program, there is going to be kind of a preliminary app before you actually complete the Maymester application, and it'll ask you just a few questions about the Maymester program and your GSF application. And then there is an InfoReady application. So InfoReady is this place where we maintain all our various applications. If we go back to that funding page that I mentioned earlier, you will be able to access all the InfoReady applications on that funding page. Both of these are going to be due by January 11th at midnight, or a minute to midnight. So historically, we have made those due in the afternoon, but we're going to give a little bit more time this year. So the deadline is going to be January 11th at midnight. And InfoReady is really the bulk of the application. So again, that Studio Abroad application is very preliminary. It's more so just gathering just a few short questions about yourself in the Studio Abroad system. But the InfoReady is going to be the bulk of the application. That's where you're going to see some of the short answer questions about maybe your professional and academic goals. What I will say is that the InfoReady application is really going to be something that you'll probably need to take a little bit of time beforehand and really think through your responses and make sure they're meaningful responses that really describe your interest in the program you want to attend. So that being said, try not to wait to the last minute to apply, because we want to make sure that you have time to really reflect and think about the program that you want to engage in. And the applications are all going to be reviewed by a committee of Vanderbilt faculty and staff members throughout the university. So we'll talk in a minute towards the end of our presentation just about the advising that we have available. You're always welcome to come in and ask questions about funding, about the actual application process. But when it comes to the substance of your answers within the application, that's not something that our staff generally are going to be able to advise you on. You're welcome to reach out to your peers, mentors, and get their feedback on your application, but we can't help you with the actual content of what you are going to write. So that was our Global Summer Fellows. Again, that's going to be the more common funding source that you'll hear for students. There are some other funding sources that students have access to. So I touched briefly on these, but there are merit stipends. Merit stipends are a great use of funding for your Maymester experience. So merit stipends are not something that you can apply for when you are currently enrolled in the university. This is something that you are awarded upon admission to the university. So if I'm saying anything like your Cornelius Vanderbilt, Chancellor's, or Kresher Aldi stipend, if you're kind of like, what is that? It may mean that you do not have access to those stipends. Again, this is something that would have been included in the offer letter whenever you were accepted to the university, but essentially it's a $6,000 summer stipend that can support a variety of immersive experiences and projects. So the Cornelius Vanderbilt, Chancellor's, and Kresher Aldi. The great thing about these stipends is that you can use that $6,000 as one lump sum, or you can actually break it apart in $500 increments across multiple summers. I think it's a max of 2 summers, but just depending on what kind of financial need you have, you can use your stipend appropriately. So we do have some miscellaneous funding, and these are funds that are going to be set up by the schools and or donors. And so these can also support your immersive experiences and or projects. However, with these funds, they are restricted sometimes by school or again by student financial need. So we have our ANS microgrants. So if you are a student in the College of Arts and Science as your primary school, or perhaps you even have a secondary major within the College of Arts and Science, you could apply for a microgrant. Now, with that, a key word to this is micro. These are not meant to be $15,000 grants to cover the entire cost of your Maymester program. However, this could be an opportunity for a student who maybe doesn't have financial needs. So maybe they're not eligible for the Global Summer Fellows, but perhaps they could apply for an ANS microgrant to help offset a little bit of the cost with a program. And then we have our Education Enhancement Fund. So this is very similar to the microgrants in that this funding source has a max of $5,000 that you can be awarded. So again, Education Enhancement Fund is not meant to cover the entire cost of your Maymester program, but it could, for some students, help offset some of the cost. With the Education Enhancement, that is a donor fund, and part of what our donor has asked for in their agreement is that it is restricted to student financial need. So you are going to need to be on student financial aid in order to qualify for that fund. So I've mentioned InfoReady a few times. I took a little screenshot of what InfoReady kind of looks like at a glance. So when you log onto the InfoReady website, I have the hyperlink right there. You'll see a breakdown of all the various funds that are currently open, as well as their deadline of when you can apply for those. So you can use that to access all of those funding sources. And of course, if you have any questions, because a lot of times funding is personal to you and your particular situation, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I've included my email. I'm always happy to meet with you and talk about your particular funding situation. All our advisors can advise on funding, but I definitely recommend if you know you have a very specific funding question, just go ahead and reach out to me directly. And then I'm going to flip it back over to Jillian.
On that same vein, if you have any questions about Maymesters or summer programs, you can always reach out to one of us here in the Study Abroad office. We have appointments that students can make on our website. If you go to our website and then go to advising and then advising, you'll find us and our links. But you can also just do drop-ins. We have office hours Tuesdays through Fridays from 1 to 4 p.m. and we would love to get to talk to you about summer programming options. So yeah, all right. I think that is it for us. So now to kind of turn it over to the audience, if there are any questions.
And we may go ahead and just stop recording at this time so that if anybody does have any questions, they can just ask in a little more confidence. So I'm going to press stop recording.